to our tutorial on vendor credits and receipts. Much like the way you use the purchase order and receive items screens to replenish your inventory quantities, you'll use the vendor credits and return receipt screens to return items to the vendor you purchased them from. The Enter Vendor Credit screen found in the Vendors menu is used to return inventory parts to a vendor. This screen is very similar to the Enter Purchase Order screen, except that instead of ordering parts into inventory, it is used to return parts back to a vendor. Your first step will be select the vendor you want to return the part to. Then assign a record number by tabbing through the vendor credit field or by typing in a number manually. The other fields on the top portion of the screen will allow you to change the address the part will be shipped to, set the name of the person returning the item, and to whom it can be confirmed, enter the vendor's terms, and set your preferred method of shipping. To return parts you have already created in ESC's inventory, change the type to Item. Now select the part in the Item field by selecting it from the Inventory search screen or by entering the part number manually. Before moving on to the next line, enter the number of parts you are returning. ESC will automatically populate the price field with the last price you paid for that type of part, but this can be changed now if needed. The department, dispatch, and job fields allow you to add additional information to each line that can help you identify where the part came from. While it is possible to use the accounts on this screen, we recommend creating a vendor credit in your accounting software instead. Since your inventory count will remain unaffected when using an account, there is no benefit to entering these types of transactions in ESC. Once all of your line items have been entered, be sure to enter the vendor's RMA number in the Memo RMA field. If you are ready to ship the item immediately, click the Print button on the toolbar at the top of the screen so that you can include this list with the items you are returning, much like a packing list. You can also email this information directly to the vendor so they know it is coming by clicking the Email button. Selecting either of these buttons will put a check mark in the Order Placed box, which will remind you not to add any more items to this credit. If you plan on adding more items to the credit for shipping later, click the Save button instead. Next, we need to make sure that the items you are returning are removed from your inventory tracking system. To do this, click the Save, Enter Return Receipt button at the top of the vendor credit screen. Click the Return All button to ship all of the items you entered on the vendor credit. If you are returning serialized parts, you will have to select the serial number of each returned part from the list of those in stock. At this point, you are ready to ship the items back to the vendor. Include the printed vendor credit with the parts and send them off. You also have the ability to remove items from stock without generating a vendor credit. To do this, select the Enter Return Receipt screen from the Vendors menu. Select the vendor you'll be returning parts to, and begin entering the parts you will be returning. This should look familiar to you as it is almost identical to the Receive Items screen. If you would like to generate a credit within your integrated accounting system at this time, click the Save and Bill button. If you are just doing a straight swap of the item, click Save instead of Save and Bill. This will bypass any entries into your accounting system. Immediately after saving, create a purchase order for the replacement parts. Use the Memo RMA field on the purchase order to reference the vendor credit you created and remind yourself not to create a bill for this when it is received. This concludes our tutorial on vendor credits and return receipts.